Hello, beautiful people. How are you? So I sometimes like to tune in before I do one of these, and I was asking, what is the collective need right now? What does the collective need to hear right now? And two things came in. One was, well, a few things. One was to know that you're not alone. To know that your emotions are going to be coming up to the surface a lot right now, but that's a really good thing. For some, that might be really overwhelming and destabilizing, maybe even. But that this whole phase that we're going through right now, especially if you're listening to this in September, I'm actually going to start to do like a monthly kind of energetic tune in update, to kind of like see what is coming through for the month and looking at it from a soul perspective for the collective. But if you're listening to this in September, this phase that we're in right now is so much about letting go. And so what I heard was these three words of letting go in order to reset and renew. So August for me, what I experienced it myself. I saw it with, kind of a lot of people in my inner circle, and I really understood this as like a collective energy. It was all about boundaries. And once you have boundaries, and it was really claiming our self-worth, what we're willing to put up with and not put up with anymore. It was like the kind of the placing the boundaries so that we can let go of old patterns, old identities, old beliefs, and old selves. So now when the boundaries are in place, there's the ability to like let go. And the letting go then allows for the reset to happen. I'm a bit like nervous using that word because it's used in very bad ways. So I'm using it just hopefully in a more pure form of just like this kind of recalibration to renew and start the new cycle. So I've been speaking a lot about how everything is moving in cycles and we're coming to the end of a very large cycle. And that transitional phase is always pretty uncomfortable, right? As our transitions. So today I want to go into these themes that have come through of you're not alone. Again, the continuation of how your emotions are serving you right now and how to be with them. And what is the process of letting go, and what are the little moments that count, that matter as we're going through this transitional phase, which at times can feel very elongated. So I'll go into that a little bit as well, and we'll see what else comes up. Let's dive in. This is Corinne Bloom, and you're listening to Raw Conversations. So as we're being reconfigured in many ways, our emotions are going to come up more because it's this invitation to get out of the head, get out of the mind, which we have been deifying for so long. And I'll say it again, that the mind is not the master, but you could say the servant, that's the saying, but it's a tool. It's a tool. And I can speak from a personal level right now with what I'm moving through. It's so clear to me that when I go into my head and I use my brain and I try to figure things out from a kind of more logical place, I can just feel that it's like I'm going against the grain almost, which what I'm being asked to do, and it's very clear in my morning meditation when I'm sitting with myself, is it's like just drop into your heart, drop into the field. You will receive the information as soon as you kind of get out of the way of trying to think about it, figure it out rationally, logically. And I would say I'm a pretty balanced person between the practical and the mysterious or the unknown. I don't do everything like that. It doesn't have to be done logically, rationally, within the lines, linearly. I'm very open to things being spontaneous and squiggly and diving into the unknown and taking the risk. But we have been so heavily indoctrinated to really try to figure things out with our mind. And so we often look at things as a problem to solve. And I think the paradigm that we're moving into is that it's like an old backwards way of viewing how to live life, that we are moving much more into the language and the embodiment of energy, of frequency. And this is why emotions are really important, because our emotions are there to help us actually choose and discern which frequency we want to be in. You know, we shift our frequency by our emotions, and our emotions are really something that can help us come into our heart. And the heart is really the portal for, I would say, where we're wanting to be, where we're wanting to get to, and where we're being invited to come into as a collective, to get out of, kind of mind-centered living and more into heart-centered living, where we're shifting our center of gravity down into the body, down into the heart, to live in a much more loving, compassionate way. Because we've seen that, if you leave the heart behind, wow, there's so much division, there's so much hatred, there's so much judgment, there's so much opinion and criticism, and this goes both as within so without, right? So people doing this to themselves, and then you see it among the collective. And yeah, anyway, I won't go too deep into that, but where emotions help us to feel our humanity again. And for some, if you're not used to feeling and listening to your emotions, it might feel out of control. It might feel overwhelming, confusing. But really, all of it is an invitation to come down into your body, come down into your heart, come down into your emotional body, your energetic body, because we're filling out, we have such an issue with not being good enough, because again, society has really chiseled that into us. We're coming into this remembrance of being whole, but you cannot be whole unless you have a holistic view of yourself and of existence and of being human and being a soul, where there are all of these parts to us, right? Not just the physical, not just the mental, but there's the emotional and the energetic and the etheric. And so it's taking into account that we are a far greater, we're so much larger than just our physical bodies, right? And then if you want to come into the kind of the quantum field, we're in an entire network, right? Think of the mycelium of just the network that is so intuitive, just like the roots of the trees. We are that too, right? So don't be shy. Don't shy away from your emotions right now. Even if they're difficult, it's feel them, listen to them, pay attention to them, let them guide you down into your body, let them bring you into your heart, and hold all the emotions with love as best as you can, with heart, with that kind of open embrace that says it's okay to feel this, it's okay to think this. Let's be with it and see what is the message that comes through it. And what is the potential alchemization and therefore shift that can come through it, right? But we can no longer afford to cut ourselves off from our humanity, because if you do, it doesn't come out very well. And I think that there are plenty of examples of what that looks like in reality. So the language of frequency now is going to be a more well-versed language that we need to learn and attune ourselves to. And this is how we change the world that we're living in, right? It is really through a frequency. And, I was having a conversation with someone around this, that, God, but it's so hard. It's so hard to stay in this state of unconditional love. Yeah, don't expect yourself to be there all the time, right? I think what we're learning to do is, how often can you frequent your heart? How often can you remember to come back into a state of love? And I was listening to a portion of a video of someone that was recounting their near-death experience, and was learning the out-of-body experience as well. And he was saying, it's not even about being more loving. It is about literally being in the state of love, being in love as often as you can. And the just hugely transformational, like positive repercussions of that, right? So let's go back to this theme that was kind of coming through of letting go to reset and renew. Part of letting go is you have to feel your emotions, because otherwise, if we don't feel our emotions, what we're doing is we're not letting go, we're storing. And where does that get stored? It gets stored in the body. It gets stored in our cellular memory. And when it gets stored, it gets stuck and it gets stagnant. And then often what happens is that people become more afraid of their emotions, because it's like opening up the can of worms that you're like, oh shit, I don't want to do that. Like God knows what's going to be in there. So the feeling of emotions is creating fluidity and movement and unsticking and unstucking. I know that's not a word, but that's what wants to come through. The stagnant energy that has been the storing of your emotions. And your emotions are just energy, right? So they're coming up now for the collective, and some, like, yeah, it might be hard to handle, but if you can do it in a way, like maybe get some guidance of how to be with your feelings, with your emotions. But listen to them, feel into them. Don't try to change them. Don't try to make them better. Don't berate them. Don't judge them. Don't criticize them. And if you are doing that, be curious as to why you're doing it and see if you can just keep on returning to love, keep on returning to love, keep on returning to acceptance. Like I've worked for more than 15 years now on the theme and topic of authenticity. We can't be authentic if we can't accept all parts of ourselves. And we can only accept all parts of ourselves if we give ourselves the permission to say, yeah, I'm human and I have feelings and I have thoughts and I have fears and I have insecurities and I have hopes and I have desires and I have wants and I have needs. And that's all okay. The what we're learning is, how do you be with all of these? How do you respond to them rather than react? How do you engage with them rather than trying to control them or ignore them, right? So we can't let go until we feel our humanity, to put it really succinctly. We cannot let go of what we no longer need if we are in the almost like the cognitive dissonance or in the neglect of our humanity. So, I said August was really about boundaries and about self-worth, and September is really about the letting go in order to reset and renew. Time isn't linear, right? So some people may have experienced that back in like July. Some people might not experience it until November. It doesn't matter. Like time, I'm just kind of placing it within the context of time because here we are and this is how we relate to time. But really your own journey and process has its own perfect divine timing, and that's all good. And like I've been saying, everything is cyclical anyway. But if I just go on this collective theme of what I'm tuning into, now comes the letting go. And remember that we are in the final months of the year of the snake. Well, we still have 4 months or so, but we're in the final months of shedding of the snake, which is shedding the old skins and coming to this end of the Kali Yuga cycle, and so many other cycles that are really coming to a closure. And in order to really come to a closure, it's like, think about any kind of relationship. Think about when you're moving house. Like I've just, again, 2 years ago when I was packing up my house and putting everything into storage, I think I got rid of like 16 huge bin bags of clothes and stuff. And now I've had my stuff in storage. I've come back after, almost 2 years, and I basically gave away 3 suitcases of clothes. Like I'm not this person anymore. I don't need it. It doesn't represent me. It's old energy. Just like anything that isn't present with me now, just let it go. Let it go. And I think, if I talk on the topic of authenticity and coming into self-worth and putting boundaries into place, all of this is a getting to know ourselves on deeper and vaster levels. And in that, it's really going, who am I today? And when I say who am I today, it's not defined by what you're doing or what you're not doing, how you're succeeding, what you're achieving. That's the old paradigm. That's what we're letting go of. But who am I today as the energetic imprint and the energetic signature? And when we look at our belongings, Does that represent me, or does that resonate with me? That's probably more important, because represent could be misconstrued as, what do other people think of me? Doesn't matter what other people think of you. What resonates with you? Do these clothes resonate with you? Does this house resonate with you? Does this job resonate with you? Do these friendships resonate with you? Does this relationship resonate with you? And I'm not saying that what doesn't resonate has to be thrown out and gotten rid of, right? But if it's a relationship that doesn't resonate, can it evolve and alchemize into the next level and stage of itself? Or if it can't, then it might very well come to an end, and there might be a letting go. But, think about when you come to the end of something, a cycle of a relationship or a journey or, moving house. What do? You let go of things. You let go of things. And so that's what we're doing individually and collectively, of what can you let go of to create this reset of a new cycle that will begin, and kind of the metaphoric spring of our being. But the letting go, the feeling, so that we can let go, and the clarity that comes through these steps of like, who am I today? And boundaries for me are always this, they're an act of self-love. They're not a defense mechanism. Boundaries that come up as walls are defensive and often unloving towards other people, and actually also ourselves. So I like to redefine boundaries as something that is an act of self-love and self-care. I loved, who said this? I think it was Richard Rudd. He said this: when you say no with love, it's a yes, right? Like saying no with love is a yes to something else. Like, I know we've heard this saying before, when you say no to something, you say yes to something else. But I loved how you said, when you say no with love, that really gives this opportunity for a true yes for something that is in greater resonance for something else. For you, I should say. Sorry, that didn't make sense. But with love, right? And I think this is what I'm hearing every morning in my meditation when I tune into my soul and I ask, okay, what message do you have for me today? What is the theme of today, or what do I need to look at today, or what do you want to impart to me today? Whatever that message is for that day, there's always the element of be in your heart and do everything with love as often as you can. So I want to move now into like, what are the little moments as we're going through this letting go process, as we're coming into this reset, so that we can renew into a new cycle, into a, as the skin of the snake is shed, that we renew ourselves into something else. And this isn't just like, oh, we're going to come up to a new year, or, it's another spring. This is huge. This is on a massive consciousness level, right? This is huge. This is thousands of years resetting. And so really what we're letting go of is like a huge, 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 huge identity. But as we're in this process of transition, which can feel really uncomfortable and awkward and painful, and sometimes like incredibly boring, because we're in this kind of holding pattern as a lot happens in the plateau, a lot happens under the surface, that we can't quite see yet. And sometimes, it's incredibly boring. I've really been dealing with boredom, for one, where I live right now, or where I'm staying as a stopgap. But two, because I can feel that people and collectively are like, okay, I'm done with this phase. Can we move on to the next? But, sometimes that transitional phase takes a little bit of time, and we can't push it. We can't force it, right? We have to really trust it. So what are the little things that we do in the process, in the interim, you could say? Not as a distraction, but what helps us within this transition. And one of the messages and the experiences that I'm having is, come back to this present moment. And how do you live and breathe and fill your present moment? Because we're coming out of the old paradigm of time, of linear time, and always projecting into the future, or reminiscing about the past, or reliving the past, because we're repeating old cycles and patterns and habits and identities and beliefs. So coming into just this now present moment with as much love as possible, as frequently and often as you can, is really what creates the frequency shift, the energetic shift. And that will change eventually your neural pathways and your biology. And therefore, what we will emanate from our beings will change the world. Like, it's happening on a very microscopic level, but it will have a huge macro effect, like massive. So I had a really lovely experience this morning because I go to sit on this little vista point where, you get this morning sun and it's got this beautiful view. And I'm in this old little medieval village where, the average age is probably like 70, 80. I mean, there's like a 98-year-old woman in this village. And I've kind of gotten to know now in just passing either, in walking or sitting in this corner, this 80-year-old, well, she's almost 80, she's 79. And this woman that has this kind of automatic wheelchair, that she will take like her morning roll, I'll say, instead of morning stroll, her morning roll. And, she was sitting there and she told me to like, come over, like sit next to me, let's have a chat. And I was sitting there and I was like, yeah, you know what? I have time for her. I really want to have a little chat with her. And, was just listening to her. And this is a woman that's lived in this little medieval village her whole life. And she's telling me about how her, daughters moved to this town and her sons moved really far away. And, a lot of the people that she knew in the village have passed away and how it's changed. And I was just sitting there listening to her and talking to her and just having this little chit chat. And I could feel in my heart that it's like, oh, this really matters. In the city or in the kind of rush and survivalism of our everyday lives and needing to work and needing to pay the bills and we lose these moments. People don't even look at one another anymore because they're looking down on their phone or, even she was saying, oh God, everyone just stays in their house now. Like, things have really changed since 2020. And, with more people being on the phone and online, there is this illusion that there's connectivity through your flipping phone, and it's a total illusion. And we're losing the day-to-day and the person-to-person, right? That kind of contact. We're even losing eye contact, and that is having a hugely detrimental effect on us. And so she was saying how she's really outgoing and, this person that's sunny and bright and she'll just talk to anyone. And, because otherwise she lives on her own. She's 79. She's in this little village and she lives on her own. And so when she gets out and she can wave to a person or smile to a person or have these little exchanges, like, that makes her day. And to be honest, it makes my day too, because I've also really been in a lot of solitude in my life. And so I could just feel, I was like, oh, this matters. This really matters. This little conversation means so much to her. And it also means a lot to me because it's human connection and it's remembering connection and it's feeling what connection feels like and how it just filled my heart with joy and love and just this appreciation of also taking the time and giving it meaning and making it matter and how that filled me with this beautiful energy, which, if you want to put it into the language of frequency, was raising my frequency because it's love and connection and it's coming into our humanity again. If you look online, people are losing their humanity. We don't even know if it's like real people. A lot of the time it's just these stupid AI bots, right? Creating the division, creating the hatred, creating this illusion that people are terrible. Actually, when you go out and you talk to people, most people are really lovely. And the only time where they become not lovely is when you meet online and they see your political views. And then, I was reading somebody sharing this, that he's like, he met people that, they were friends, they had good conversations, and it wasn't until they found each other online and recognized they had different views that then all of a sudden, like, the daily life interaction changed. And it's like, wow, how sad, So when you go out and you meet people and you have a conversation with that human to human, face to face, it's you realize that people are good. Most people are good, And on a side note, with these NDE experiences, what a lot of them learn on the other side before they come back is, our higher self, our soul, God, source, divine, whatever, consciousness isn't interested in what you achieve. It doesn't really matter. What you do here is totally up to you. It's an experience for you to have, but it's not like God, source, divine consciousness is going to be, oh, well done, bravo, you wrote a book, you made a film, you were a CEO, you had $1 million, dollars, euros, pounds. Like, if you had that experience, great. What did you learn from it? How was it for you? But we live in a society that measures our worth by what we do, but that's not what Source Divine does, right? So what you do in this life doesn't actually matter. Who you are is what matters. And so when people that have a near-death experience have a life review, they don't see all of the accolades and the accomplishments. That actually, oftentimes, they are shown the little moments where they neglected someone or where they said something that really hurt that person. And it wasn't out of judgment to go, look at what you did. It was actually, they felt so much pain because it's like, oh my God, I really hurt their feelings in that moment. I had no idea the effect and the consequence of my actions or my words. And then on the other side of that coin, they were shown like the little moments that they would have never thought mattered, that actually mattered so much, like the conversation that they had with the cashier, when they were buying food at the supermarket, and when they said hello and smiled, and how it made the cashier, that made their day, that smile, that being treated like a fellow human. Those are the moments that count. Those are the moments that matter. What we do is secondary. Who we are is what matters most. So that's why I wrap around back to the beginning. Feel your feelings, because it will bring you into your humanity. It will bring you into your heart. It will bring you into the energy and frequency of love. And then show up as often as you can with that love. Take the time to smile. Even if you don't have the time to have the conversation, smile at a person. You have no idea how that's going to change their life. I will never forget watching, don't know what it was, a video, documentary, something. This was ages ago, of a man that survived jumping off the Golden Gate Bridge. He was choosing to end his life. And he remembered saying to himself, I won't do it if somebody looks me in the eye and sees me, sees his pain. And nobody looked him in the eye. And so he's like, okay, fine, I'm going to do it. And he survived it, he survived it. And then he goes on to share his story. And now he's helping, obviously, people in a similar position to make a different choice. But I thought, wow, like nobody looked him in the eye. And had they, that could have changed the course of what he did, So don't underestimate the power of human connection. And of course, the first person that you need to connect to, that we need to connect to, is ourselves. We neglect, ignore, abandon, reject ourselves more than one would think. When I work with people individually, there's so much fear about being abandoned and rejected by others. Often we're the first point of that abandonment and rejection. And of course, it's because, we might have experienced it in our childhood, it can go through all the layers, but the beginning of that healing starts with us, right? So the invitation today is allow the emotions to come up. Feel them, be with them, don't change them, don't judge them, listen to them, pay attention to them. What are they communicating to you? What are they pointing you towards? What are they inviting you into? Most likely they're inviting you into your humanity, into your being, into your body, into your heart, into, at the end, love, right? Let go of what you don't need anymore. Let go of who you're not anymore. Let go of the old stories. Let go of the old beliefs. And yes, that's a process, but I also think sometimes we can just literally say, I let go of this. I don't need to carry this baggage anymore. Let it go. Shed the skin. Allow yourself to reset, knowing that you are not alone, because we're doing this collectively, individually and collectively, right? You are so not alone. Remember that. And in the renewal, allow yourself to be this new human that is evolving and is evolving through love. No more of the hate and the division and the separation. That's the end of the old cycle. Yeah. Remember who you are. You are a being of love and compassion and kindness, and you deserve love and compassion and kindness and all of these things. And we're here to weave a new fabric together. Yeah, we get to start a new story, but we have to let go of the old one first. And that's a process, and do it with love and do it with gentleness and do it with patience and with kindness, but let it go. This is a month to let it go. Yeah. And make the little moments matter so much more than the big things you might want to achieve. And if there are big projects and visions, great, do it. Amazing, fantastic, go for it. Life is to be lived and to be experienced, but don't judge yourself if you're not doing anything, right? And you feel like your life has no meaning or purpose because you're not producing anything. Then make your day matter by the little moments that you share with people or with animals. My daughter and I spent 15 minutes just sitting and standing around these little kittens, just looking at them, playing with them, observing them, being there with them. That matters. These are moments of life and existence, and we learn about ourselves through it, and we learn about consciousness and the divine and source through it. We are coming into being. We're letting go of the doing. Always, always, always the doing. The doing will come naturally as an expression of our being. So come back in. Come back to your heart. Call upon the light to come back into you. You are the light, right? We've been in the dark ages in a way. We really have. We're returning to the light. We're returning into remembrance. And we do it by feeling our humanity, dropping into heart, dropping into love, and then giving that, extending that to others. But begin with yourself. Okay, I'm going to leave it at that. As always, take it or leave it as feels right for you, and loving you from afar. You've been listening to Raw Conversations with Corinne Bloom. Thanks so much for showing up, listening in, and being a part of the conversation with me.